That night, a car followed him home, its headlights dark. Is the broker closing in? Can you strike at the heart of evil? Marcus led the raid, a small team of trusted cops. Jenna at his side. The warehouse was dark, crates stacked high, echoing the mill. They moved silently, finding cash, drugs, and a laptop with encrypted files. Marcus's heart raced. This could end it. But an alarm blared, and armed men appeared, the broker's enforcers. Shots rang out, and Marcus stood behind a crate, Jenna covering him. "We're not leaving empty-handed," he said, grabbing the laptop. They fought their way out, but one man's face stuck with Marcus, the broker, watching from a distance. Did they win, or walk into a trap? What do you do when the fight costs everything? Back at the precinct, Marcus decrypted the laptop, revealing a list of corrupt officials across the state. The broker's network was massive, Oakridge just a piece. He sent the files to the FBI, his hand shaking. This was bigger than him, bigger than Oakridge. Jenna found him, her face pale. "They're coming for you, Marcus, the broker's man." Marcus nodded, his mother's words echoing. "Don't stop fighting." He grabbed his pistol, ready to face them. A knock at the precinct door echoed, heavy, ominous. Is this the final battle? Can one man stand against a storm? Marcus opened the door, the broker standing there, flanked by two men. "You're persistent," the broker said, his voice smooth. "Join us or end like Warren." Marcus laughed, his badge glinting. "I'm not for sale." Jenna signaled backup, her gun ready. The crowd outside gathered, phones up, live streaming. The broker's men hesitated, outnumbered by the community's eyes. Marcus stepped forward. "Your time's up." A shot rang out and chaos erupted. Who falls in the final stand? What's the cost of justice? The shot hit the broker's shoulder, fired by Jenna. He staggered, his men fleeing as the crowd surged, chanting Marcus's name. Marcus cuffed the broker, his heart pounding but steady. The laptop's files were with the FBI, the network crumbling. But Bradley, released on bail, appeared, his gun raised. "You ruined everything," he spat, aiming at Marcus. Jenna dove, taking the bullet, her cry piercing the air. Marcus tackled Bradley, cuff snapping on, but Jenna lay still, blood pooling. The crowd screamed, medics rushing in. Can Marcus save Jenna, or is the price too high? What does victory feel like when it hurts? Jenna survived, her wound serious but not fatal. Marcus sat by her hospital bed, guilt heavy. "You didn't have to do that," he said, his voice breaking. Jenna smiled weakly. "You're worth it, Chief." The broker was arrested, his network exposed, Oakridge's precinct gutted and rebuilding. Marcus addressed the crowd, his voice raw. "This is your victory," he said, but his heart ached for Jenna, for the cost. A new note arrived. The network's not dead. Is Marcus's fight really over? Can a broken town heal? Marcus led the precinct with iron resolve, hiring new officers, opening community forums. The crowd on Carver Street became a council, their voices shaping policy. Jenna recovered, her badge shinier, her loyalty unbreakable. Marcus's mother visited, tears in her eyes. "You did it, son." But the note haunted him. The network was vast, its roots deep. Marcus kept the files close, knowing the fight wasn't done. He walked Carver Street, no longer a target but a leader, the crowd his shield. His phone buzzed, a photo of him, taken that morning. Who's still watching and why? What if the real fight is inside? Marcus found the source, a hidden camera in his office, planted by a mole still loyal to the network. He didn't fire them. Instead, he left the camera, feeding false intel, turning their game against them. The black man spat on by a white officer wasn't just a new chief. He was a strategist, playing a long game. Oakridge changed, but Marcus's mission grew. The network's shadow stretched beyond the town, and he'd hunt it, with Jenna, Ray, and the community at his side. He smiled, his mother's words echoing, "You're stronger than they know." As he walked Carver Street, the crowd cheered, unaware of the camera's secret. Have you ever fought for justice against all odds? Share your story below. What happens when you're cornered? The car screeched to a stop, Warren Bradley stepping out, gun in hand. "You're a dead man, Kane," he said, his voice cold. Marcus stood, hands raised, the ledger hidden in his jacket. "You're done, Warren. The press has everything." Warren laughed, but his eyes were nervous. "You think a few photos stop me?" He raised a gun, but Jenna's cruiser roared up, lights flashing. She stepped out, her own gun drawn. "Drop it, Warren," she said, her voice shaking but firm. Marcus's heart raced. Jenna was with him, but Warren's men were closing in. Can they stand against the odds? What's the price of standing your ground? Warren's men circled, guns glinting in the moonlight. Marcus kept his eyes on Warren, his voice calm. "The broker's name is out. You're finished." Warren's face twitched, but he didn't lower his gun. Jenna's hands shook, her loyalty to Marcus unwavering. The crowd from Carver Street appeared, phones up, live streaming. Their chants echoed, "Justice now." Warren's men hesitated, the tide turning. Marcus stepped forward, his voice steady. "You can't hide anymore." A shot rang out, and the crowd screamed. Who fired and who's hit? Can Hope survive a bullet? The shot grazed Marcus's arm, blood seeping through his sleeve. He staggered but stayed upright. The crowd's roar giving him strength. Warren's gun smoked, but Jenna tackled him, cuffs snapping on his wrists. His men froze, outnumbered by the crowd's fury. Marcus clutched his arm, the ledger still safe. He handed it to a journalist in the crowd, her camera rolling. "Get this out," he said, his voice hoarse. The crowd surged, protecting him, their phones a shield against Warren's men, who fled into the night. Jenna helped Marcus stand, her eyes full of guilt and pride. Is the fight over, or just beginning? What happens when the world sees the light? By morning, the story was everywhere. News channels, social media, the ledger's contents exposing Warren, the broker, and a dozen others. Marcus sat in a hospital, his arm bandaged, watching the coverage. The crowd hadn't left Carver Street, their chants now a celebration. Jenna visited, her badge heavy with new meaning. "I'm sorry I doubted you," she said. Marcus smiled. "You stood up when it counted." But his mind was on the text from Ray. "There's more. Check the precinct." Marcus's heart raced. What was left to uncover? Is the victory real, or is another secret waiting? What lies behind a locked door? Marcus and Jenna slipped into the precinct, now half empty, officers suspended or arrested. Ray met them, leading them to a locked room in the basement. Warren kept his real files here, he said, picking the lock. Inside were boxes, photos, tapes, names of cops on the take. One file caught Marcus's eye. His own name, with photos from Chicago, notes on his investigations. They'd been tracking him for years, knowing he'd come for them. His blood ran cold. This wasn't just Oakridge. It was a network. Jenna's face paled. This is bigger than we thought. What's the true scope of the corruption? Can one man change a broken system? Marcus sat with the files, his arm throbbing, his mind racing. Ray's voice was urgent. "They need you, Marcus. The mayor's calling an emergency meeting. They want a new chief." Marcus froze. He'd come to expose, not to lead, but Oakridge needed him. Jenna nodded. "You're the only one who can fix this." The crowd outside chanted his name, their faith a weight and a gift. Marcus thought his mother, her pride, her sacrifices. He'd fought for her, for them all. He stood, decision made. "Let's go," he said. What will Marcus face as chief? What's the cost of power? In the mayor's office, Marcus faced a room of wary faces. Council members, activists, a few honest cops. The mayor, shaken by the scandal, offered Marcus the chief's badge. "You've earned it," she said. "Clean this up." Marcus hesitated, the files heavy in his hands. Accepting meant stepping into a war zone. Corrupt cops, angry citizens, a network still in the shadows. But he saw his mother's face, the crowd's hope, and nodded. "I'm in." As he left, a text buzzed. "You're not safe yet." Who's still out there watching? Can a new chief change a town? Marcus walked into the precinct as chief, his badge new but heavy. Officers stared, some with respect, others with resentment. Bradley, on desk duty pending trial, glared from a corner. Marcus met his eyes, unflinching. Things change now, he said, his voice carrying. Jenna was promoted to his second, her loyalty proven. Together, they started reforms, body cams, community boards, transparency. But whispers spread. Warren's allies were still active, waiting to strike. Marcus found a note on his desk. You'll fall. The crowd outside cheered, but danger lingered. Can Marcus lead without losing himself? What happens when the enemy doesn't quit? Marcus dug deeper. The basement files revealing a national network tied to the broker. He met with Ray and Jenna, mapping connections. He's still out there, Marcus said, pointing to the councilman's name. He's the key. Jenna found a lead, a warehouse where the broker stored cash. Marcus planned a raid, but Ray warned, they'll kill to protect this. Marcus nodded, his arms still aching from the graze. He wasn't backing down. Marcus, meanwhile, sat in his small apartment, reviewing the flash drive. Names, dates, deals. Warren Bradley's fingerprints were everywhere. A shadow empire built on fear. Marcus's mother had warned him, don't poke a hornet's nest. But he'd seen too many lives destroyed to stay silent. His phone buzzed with a photo, him at the warehouse, taken last night. Who's watching Marcus? And what do they want? How do you fight an enemy you can't see? Marcus woke to a brick crashing through his window, glass shattering across his floor. A note tied to it read, back off or you're done. His heart raced, but he pocketed the note, his resolve hardening. He'd faced worse in Chicago, shootouts, betrayals, but this was personal, his hometown. He called Ray, who confirmed the precinct was rattled. Warren's got eyes everywhere, Ray said. They know you're close. Marcus checked his locks, his old service pistol hidden in a drawer. He wasn't a fighter anymore, but he wasn't defenseless either. Outside, a car idled, its headlights dark. Marcus's pulse quickened. Is the threat closer than he thinks? Can you trust the one who stands with you? Jenna knocked on Marcus's door, her face pale. I saw the note, she said, her voice low. Tom's dad is dangerous. I want to help. Marcus studied her. She'd been Bradley's shadow, but her eyes held guilt, a spark of rebellion. He handed her a burner phone. Stay quiet. Watch. At the precinct, Bradley was back, his suspension lifted, his father's influence clear. He cornered Jenna, his voice low. You're either with us or against us. Jenna nodded, but her hand slipped to the burner phone, her heart racing. She was in too deep to back out. Marcus watched from across the street. Jenna's alliance a risk he had to take. Is Jenna a true ally or a trap? What's the cost of uncovering the truth? Marcus and Ray met in a diner, poring over the flash drive. Bank records, coded messages, a trail leading to Warren Bradley, and a drug cartel using Oakridge as a hub. Marcus's fingers trace a name, the broker, a ghost pulling strings. That's our target, he said, his voice steady. Jenna texted, her message cryptic. Found a ledger in Warren's old office. Marcus's heart leapt more evidence, but it meant Jenna was risking everything. He sent her instructions. Copy it. Stay safe. But her next text was a photo of the ledger, with a shadow in the background. Marcus's got twisted. Someone was watching Jenna. 2. Is the broker closer than they realize? Can one voice ignite a revolution? The crowd on Carver Street swelled. Hundreds now, chanting Marcus's name. He stood on a makeshift stage, his megaphone steady. We're not just fighting one officer, he said, but a system that protects the guilty. The crowd roared, but Bradley watched from the precinct steps, his eyes dark. Jenna slipped Marcus the ledger, her hands shaking. Warren's meeting someone tonight, she whispered. The broker? Marcus nodded, tucking the ledger into his jacket. It was the break he needed, but the danger was mounting. A bottle flew from the crowd, shattering near Bradley. The tension snapped and chaos loomed. Will the protest turn violent, or can Marcus keep the peace? What happens when you walk into the lion's den? Marcus followed Jenna's tip to an old mill outside town, where Warren Bradley's car idled. He hid in the shadows, camera ready, as Warren met a man in a suit, the broker. Their voices were low, but Marcus caught words. Shipment, payoff, clean it up. He snapped photos, his heart pounding. The broker's face was familiar. A councilman. A pillar of Oakridge. Marcus's mind raced. This wasn't just a precinct problem. It was the town's heart. He sent the photos to Ray, but a twig snapped behind him. A flashlight beam hit his face. "You shouldn't be here," a voice growled. "Has Marcus been caught, or can he escape? How do you run when the truth is at stake?" Marcus ducked behind a crate, his breath shallow as the flashlight swept past. The voice belonged to one of Warren's men, a hulking figure with a gun. Marcus's training kicked in. He moved silently, slipping through the mill's rusted machinery, the photos safe in his pocket. He reached the exit, but Warren's voice echoed. "Find him." Marcus sprinted into the woods, branches clawing at his face, the ledger heavy in his jacket. He heard dogs barking, their howls closing in. His lungs burned, but he kept running, driven by the faces in the crowd. His phone buzzed. "Ray, got the photos. Sending to press." Can Marcus stay ahead of the hunters? Who do you trust when the ground shifts? Marcus hid in a ditch, the dogs passing, their handlers cursing. He checked his phone, Jenna's text, "I'm sorry." His heart sank. Had she turned? He called her, her voice frantic. "They made me, Marcus. Warren knows." At the precinct, Bradley confronted Jenna, his face twisted. "You're with him?" he spat. Jenna's eyes were steady. "I'm with what's right." Bradley shoved her, but she stood firm, slipping out to warn Marcus. Her betrayal of Warren was a redemption, but it came at a cost. Marcus emerged from the ditch, the mill quiet, but a car's headlights flared, heading his way. Is Jenna's warning too late? What would you do if hate stared you in the face? The sun beat down on the cracked pavement of Carver Street, a rundown corner of Oakridge, where the air smelled of asphalt and tension. A crowd gathered outside the precinct, their voices a low hum of anger, protesting yet another incident of police overreach. In the center stood Marcus Kane, 42, a black man with a calm demeanor but eyes that burned with purpose, his suit crisp despite the heat. Officer Tom Bradley, 35, pushed through the crowd, his badge glinting, his face twisted with disdain. He'd patrolled Oakridge for a decade, his name synonymous with quick tempers and unchecked power. As Marcus raised a megaphone to address the crowd, Bradley spat his feet, the act deliberate, venomous. "Go home, troublemaker," he sneered, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Marcus didn't flinch, wiping the spit from his shoe with a handkerchief, his gaze steady. The crowd gasped, phones already recording, but Marcus's calm held a weight that silenced them. Who is this man, and what's he hiding behind that calm? Can one moment carry a lifetime of pain? Marcus's hand tightened on the megaphone, his voice steady as he spoke to the crowd about justice, about change. But Bradley's spit lingered in his mind, a reminder of every slight, every slur he'd faced growing up in Oakridge. Born to a single mother in a neighborhood where hope was scarce, Marcus had clawed his way out, earning a law degree, serving as a detective in Chicago, and now returning home with a secret mission. Bradley, meanwhile, reveled in the crowd's outrage, his smirk daring Marcus to react. He was the king of Carver Street, untouchable, or so he thought. His father, a retired deputy chief, had taught him the streets were his to control, and Marcus's presence, articulate, unafraid, felt like a challenge to that legacy. The crowd's chants grew louder, but Marcus lowered the megaphone, his eyes locking on Bradley's. Something in that gaze made Bradley pause, a flicker of unease. What does Marcus know that Bradley doesn't? What drives a man to face a storm? Marcus stepped away from the crowd, slipping into a quiet alley, his phone buzzing with a text. "Meeting tonight. Be ready." He'd come back to Oakridge not just to protest, but to rebuild a broken system. His past as a detective had shown him the rot in law enforcement, corruption, bias, lives ruined, and he'd vowed to fix it, starting here in his hometown. Back at the precinct, Bradley leaned against his cruiser, joking with his partner, Officer Jenna Cole, about teaching that guy a lesson. Jenna, younger and less hardened, shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe he's just trying to help," she said, but Bradley scoffed. "He's a nobody stirring up trouble." Marcus checked his watch, his heart steady but heavy. Tonight's meeting would change everything, but Bradley's act of disrespect had lit a fire. What's Marcus planning, And will it shake Oakridge to its core? What secrets hide behind a badge? The Oakridge precinct loomed at the end of Carver Street, a squat brick building with flickering lights and a reputation for turning a blind eye. Inside, Bradley lounged at his desk, scrolling through social media, where the video of him spitting on Marcus was already viral. He laughed unfazed, but Jenna's frown deepened. "This could get you suspended, Tom," she warned. Marcus sat in a diner across town, sipping coffee, his laptop open to files on the precinct's history. Complaint of brutality, missing evidence, whispers of protection racket. He'd spent months gathering intel, his detective instinct sharp. The spit wasn't just personal. It was a symptom of a deeper sickness he was here to cure. His phone buzzed again. "They're watching you." Marcus's jaw tightened. Someone in the precinct knew he was digging. Who's on to him? And how far will they go to stop him? What happens when truth meets power? At midnight, Marcus slipped into an abandoned warehouse, its windows boarded, the air thick with dust. A small group waited. Community leaders, a journalist, a former cop named Ray, all part of a secret coalition to reform Oakridge's police. Marcus laid out his plan, exposed the precinct's corruption, started with evidence he'd gathered on a ring skimming drug busts. Ray, grizzled and wary, handed Marcus a flash drive. "This name's names," he said. "Bradley's just a pawn. His dad's a real player." Marcus nodded, his mind racing. Bradley's father, Deputy Chief Warren Bradley, had retired under a cloud of suspicion, but still pulled strings. As they spoke, a shadow moved outside, a figure watching through a crack in the boards. Is Marcus's plan already compromised? Can words cut deeper than actions? The next morning, Marcus returned to Carver Street, the crowd larger, angrier, fueled by the viral video. Bradley was there, his face red, ordered to stand down but defiant. He shoved past Marcus, muttering, "You're nothing here." Marcus's voice was calm but sharp. "You don't know who I am, officer." The words hung in the air, a challenge Bradley couldn't ignore. He spun, fists clenched, but Jenna grabbed his arm. "Don't, Tom," she whispered. Marcus's eyes held Bradley's, unflinching, a promise of something bigger. The crowd watched, phones up, sensing a shift. Marcus turned to the crowd, his voice rising. "This isn't about one officer. It's about a system that's failed us. What's Marcus building toward, and will Bradley take the bait? What does it mean to wear a badge in a broken town?" Bradley stormed into the precinct, slamming his fist on a desk. The video had cost him a week's suspension, but his father's call reassured him. "Lay low, son. I'll handle it." Bradley's loyalty to his father was ironclad, but Jenna's doubts nagged at him. "What if he's right, Tom?" she asked. "What if we're the problem?